Not even out of the first couple of months of the system's life, the second game in SNK's Pocket Fighting series, after King of Fighters Round 1, gave us a portable version of their weapons-based fighting game. Actually based on the Neo Geo version of Samurai Shodown 4, this is not technically the same game as that of the same name that came out on Game Boy in 1994, or indeed 1996's Japanese exclusive Netu Samurai Spirits Zankuro Musuken, which is better known in the West as Samurai Shodown 3. There'll be some recognizable roster members for anyone familiar with earlier entries in the series. It shares a lot of similarity with number 3, with only a few tweaks actually. In fact, storyline-wise, this is the second part of a story that takes place between the events of games 1 and 2, the first being number 3, so in effect, this one directly follows on from the third. The separating feature with Shodown games is the use of weapons rather than merely hand-to-hand combat. It was one of the earliest in the genre to really do this, and helped especially to set it apart from other subsections of the King of Fighters family. How all these SNK games intersect is a difficult topic to broach, but it doesn't really matter. All you really need to know is those 3 letters virtually always represent quality when it comes to fighting games. As expected, the game translates excellently to the handheld format. The more of these I play, the more it becomes evident that this was exactly the sort of thing they had in mind when they designed the Neo Geo Pocket. It's actually kind of difficult to go back to using a D-pad for fighting games once you've been spoiled with the 8-way clicky stick. It's so comfortable to do half and quarter circle inputs to fire up your special moves. As a quick aside, don't worry that you can't experience the controls here because you don't have the original hardware. For emulation purposes, I swear by 8-bit Do's controllers. Their SNES-based one is pretty much the best retro-style controller I've ever used, and I've got through a few, as you can imagine. I recently treated myself to their Neo Geo CD one as well. They spent 3 years making this thing, and it's outstanding just how close to the original it feels. It even sounds like it. D-pads are one thing, but it's a lot harder to replicate the clicky stick. SNK must have been impressed because they happily stuck their name on it. But this isn't a product placement video. Unless you want to give me a call, 8-bit do, we can talk. The controls are easy to pick up, difficult to master, exactly what you want from a fighting game. Movement is straightforward, down to duck, up to jump, back to guard, that sort of thing. The A button is a simple punch if you don't have a weapon, whereas if you do, a tap will perform a quick light slash, and a longer press is fiercer. B kicks, which you may not feel like using as much when you've got a massive samurai sword, but it does come in handy. Down and B will do a low kick, diagonally forwards and down with B sweeps the leg. You can tap forwards twice to run, then do a dashing attack by pressing A or B. A and B together performs a dodge, which isn't always successful but makes you temporarily invincible if you manage to time it right. You can even taunt while dodging. Pressing down twice during a dodge taunts, which raises your rage meter a bit. Pressing up twice instead performs a suicide move. It's called Honorable Death here. You lose the round, but immediately start the next one with a full rage bar and a special attack loaded up. That's not it for the controls, of course. There are several other little tricks you can pull off depending on the fighter's relative positions, whether you're downed, and so on. You can combo moves, disarm opponents, and all sorts of tricky things. As well as that, each character obviously has their signature attacks. These actually vary depending on whether you choose your character's slash or bust mode. This choice alters the moveset, but can also replace weapons. Nakarura, for example, has a blade in slash mode, but runs with a wolf familiar in bust mode. Some fighters are quite similar between the two styles, but for others it's almost like playing a completely different character. Very cool extra layer of detail there. Let's talk about this rage gauge I mentioned. It's essentially how pissed off your characters become, filling up only when you take damage. If you can max it out, not only will your attacks inflict more damage than usual, but you're also able to pull off the character's super move. They're usually performed, it might be always actually, but I haven't played every character yet, by pressing back, forwards, then down A and B altogether. Hit that and it should be pretty much game over. It can also be called the disarmament move, seeing as how it disarms your opponent as well. There are both difficulty levels and player levels, and they work a bit differently from each other. The difficulty level is what you think it is, and it's set from the main menu. However, during the character select section, you're able to choose your own class as well. Beginner, medium, or expert. This alters the controls a bit. In beginner mode, you have a simplified method to pulling off a 4-hit slash combo, as well as the disarmament moves. Medium is just your standard controls and is what I gravitate towards basically all the time. On Expert mode, your guard is removed altogether, meaning you need to rely on dodging much more often. As a trade-off, you inflict more damage, so it might be worth learning this way from the off if you're feeling confident. Other than that, everything else works as standard for fighting games. You get an interesting story mode with dialogue that changes depending on who you fight as, progressing through the field in best of 3 bouts, or whatever you select. There's a survival mode as well, where you regain a bit of health between each fight and last as long as you can. The game looks pretty great whether you play it in the monochrome or the colorized. It's not full color as such, as there was no Pocket Color release of this, but the palette swaps fit the build just fine. As we've seen multiple times already with this library, it's the frames of animation that are most striking. Such love has gone into making these characters as vibrant and full of life as possible, and it really shows. Plus, the game is a bit of a banger, not gonna lie. It might feel a bit lopsided to have this many fighting games in what is quite a small library by all accounts, but when they're as fantastic as this, who cares, man?